huge challenge for us this week, but also a great opportunity playing a very, very good Syracuse team. We watched them Saturday night take it to a really good Louisville team, and they were dominant in all phases, offensively, defensively, also in special teams. Speaking towards their offense, mammoth offensive line, big, physical, very experienced offensive line, and it really starts up there with those guys. They do a tremendous job in their run scheme. They do a really good job in protection. They've got a great tight end crew. Now they lost number 5, and I know his nickname's Rhino, and they lost him for the year. So our prayers are for him. When he went down, I said, well, maybe he'll miss one game, and I'm sad to say that he'll miss the whole season, and that's unfortunate. You just hate to see that in college sports. But they've got a really good tight end group that they use in pretty exotic ways and poses some problems. They've got in Sean Tucker, arguably one of the very best backs in the country. I know that he's getting some Heisman hype, and if you watch him running the football, if you watch him coming out of the backfield as a pass catcher in their screen game, he's certainly worthy of that. He's a physical back who runs with power, he runs with speed. He's elusive, he can catch the ball, and he poses a huge challenge for us. And then the quarterback, Garrett Schrader, he's a big guy. He's a 6'4". They list him, I think, at 225, but I'm sure he's bigger than that. He's very athletic. He's a very good runner. He throws the ball well to their big receivers. The receivers go 6'4", 6'5", 6'6". That's their starting 3 receivers, I think. Their slot is a 6'1" guy, but they've got size on the outside, and he throws it there. But he's not a guy that goes down easily. He doesn't slide much. He doesn't run out of bounds much. He's a physical player. So we have to do a really good job there. I think on defense, they pose problems. They've got 2 corners that can cover well. It allows them the flexibility to do some things up front in terms of their pressures and their looks that free them up to make some big plays in the backfield. And they're physical and athletic. And then, they've got a 2-time All-ACC kicker. So, it's a Power 5 team. It's an ACC team, and we'll have our hands full, and we're going to go out and we're going to prepare all week really, really hard, and we're going to go out and we're going to compete our tails off on Saturday night, and hopefully we get a good crowd. I'm sure it'll be a great environment. I thought it was a great environment Saturday, and we'll go out and we'll do all we can to try to win this game against an outstanding team.
You talked about Syracuse quarterback Schrader. Their OC, Robert Nye, was the OC for Taysom Hill at BYU back in the day. Do you see similarities between those 2 quarterbacks and what they like to do offensively?
Well, I played against Hill, coached against him, and then he was also with Perkins at Virginia, and I coached Paul Perkins at UCLA, so have a real familiarity with those guys. I think that this guy, Schrader, first of all, he's bigger, I think taller, lankier. And I think that he is probably, when I compare him to Hill and to Perkins at this point in his career, he's a better thrower. Now, those guys developed into, Taysom Hill, he's a good player in the NFL, and I thought Perkins, as he played that position more and more, became a guy that was really good throwing the football. But I think Schrader already has that. And that poses a real threat, because they're running Wildcat without running Wildcat. They're running Wildcat with a quarterback who can get the ball down the field. And as I said, they've got big, physical, athletic receivers. So, they're a handful on offense. They're a real handful. And their offensive line is just, they're huge. I think their left tackle's 388. I think they go about 325 across the board. I think their lightest guy is at, 300, 305. So it's a big group.
So how does your defensive line combat that? Or, you have to really scheme it up to deal with their power?
Yeah, but you can't. We have to be explosive off the ball. We have to play with good pad level, use leverage. We have to be able to violently disengage off of blocks, not get hung up on blocks. We've got to be able to hold our point and not get washed. But they're going to move you a little bit, and we've got to be able to hang on to guys when it's time to hang on to guys, and hold on to a double and let a linebacker have a run through. And I don't mean hold on illegally, but I mean take up 2 blockers. But but it's hard, you know. So schematically, I mean, you know, we're at the point in our development where the best thing for us to do is just do what we do and continue to try to do it better and better and better and better, because we haven't played a lot in this scheme together, only two games. So for us, it's really about just doing what we've done and doing it better.
What benefits have you seen from your depth at the running back position?
Well, I think we saw the benefits on Saturday, you know, and different types of runners, which I think presents a problem at times. You know, obviously, you know, Nate is running very, very well, and he's, you know, he's powerful up inside. He can get into the open field, make people miss. And then you put Devontae in there and Brian, and you know they've got that first step quickness, you know, where they can go lateral, then put their foot in the ground and hit the hole and get vertical. It was good to see Victor in there. You know, Victor, I liken him a little bit more to Nate Carter in terms of style of play. And then the guy that hasn't carried the ball a lot but has done a really good job is Bernsey, you know. And he had a huge play the other day when we ran the quarterback sneak on 4th and 1. And he basically carried Zion for the first down, you know. So plays like that don't go unnoticed to us as a staff, and we have a ton of respect for Robert Burns.
Coach, you haven't played Syracuse, UConn hasn't since 2018. Can you talk about your philosophy about playing other teams from the Northeast and developing these rivalries back to where they once were?
My philosophy is they don't matter. That's my philosophy. You know, I've never been a big rivalry guy. Every game is just another opportunity to go out and compete and play to win. I think if you ride the wave, the up and down wave of, oh, this is a rivalry game, we got to get up, and then the next week it's not a rivalry game, so you're not up, that you become an inconsistent football team. And so that's not going to be my mindset, and hopefully that's not going to be our players' mindset. There should never be added I don't like added motivation. Is there added motivation this week? No. There should always be the same amount of motivation, which is as much motivation as you can muster to go out and compete that week. That's just, you know, that's my philosophy. I was involved with a pretty good rivalry with USC and UCLA, and we just were playing another team that Saturday, you know. That was another team to us, so.
Jim, can you talk about the development of your tight ends? Brandon and Russell got a few more touches on Saturday.
Yeah, you know, Nick is a guy offensively that would like to utilize our tight ends. Obviously, we use them in the run game, but, you know, we've got some guys that can do some things in the pass game. And Dixon and Naminsky, I think, have shown up a little bit. I think you'll see Justin Jolie start to show up a little bit. He's working into the rotation a little bit. Athletic guy that can make some catches in space. Every week it's a little bit of a different proposition for us. You know, who we're facing and what we need to do to have success running the ball and throwing the ball dictates what personnel we use. You know, so you've also seen us use, you know, an extra tackle at tight end at times, you know, in the run game and in the pass game as well. So just continue to develop that position is important for us. As a defensive coordinator, and when I was calling defenses, I hated going against the really athletic, big, physical tight end, the Tony Gonzalez's or the Kellen Winslow's or the, you know, the guys, the Kittles and those guys now, because they present such a matchup problem. So we're looking for those types of bodies and those types of athletes.
Jim, we're going to talk to Brandon today. Talk to us about his development linebacker.
Brandon Boyer Randall?
Yes.
Well, gosh darn. Number one, the things that we ask him to do are pretty immense. You know, he plays defensive end in our nickel. He plays behind the ball in our base. He plays outside sometimes in our base. He's on a ton of our special teams. And, I mean, he's got a very large learning menu. And he handles it very, very well. Very well. He's very serious. He handles himself in a very professional manner. He's sharp as can be. I think that there's a lot I respect about him and appreciate. And the thing that really just jumps out to me, though, is his effort on game day. I mean, he plays with a passion and an effort that does jump off the screen. There's been many examples in the two games we've had where you put the pointer on him and you say, that's what great effort looks like, number 0. So he's a fun one to coach, and he's just a wonderful person.
Jim, you said Saturday you continued to get Cale involved. And I just want to make sure I understood you Correct, but is he struggling a little bit with an injury that's preventing him from throwing the way he ordinarily would? Or?
He had a shoulder, and he had shoulder surgery. And, I've watched Cale for a long time, obviously, and know his motion. I used to play catch with him when he was about 6 years old, so I know his throwing motion. And when we got here, he wasn't throwing it like he used to throw it. And it might have been more mental than anything, because he felt pain in that shoulder. And what we've seen over the last few weeks is it's just starting to come now. His motion's starting to be more smooth and not as herky-jerky, and he's starting to put zip on the ball. So he's starting to become that guy that, we first offered at UCLA, that went to Oregon on a scholarship. I mean, big-time prospect, and he's starting to become that guy again, and that's encouraging for us, especially with Taekwon down, and we'll involve him more and more in the game plans.
Coach, when you coached Dalton Hilliard at UCLA, what did you see in him that made you want to bring him up?
Dalton was, it just starts with him as a person, his character, his integrity, his intelligence. I mean, he's just a great guy. He's a great person. He's a great father. He's a great husband. I mean, I've known his parents for a long time, and you see what he comes from and how important family is to him. When I worked with him at UCLA, because I coached him, and then he was a graduate assistant, just his passion for coaching and the investment that he was willing to make into the players, and not just on the football field, but in their lives. Those are the things you want. And then he's coached with some good people. Demetrius Martin, who is the DB coach right now at Oregon, was at University of Washington. Then when I went to UCLA, he came with me there. Is one of the best DB coaches I've been around, and he trained Dalton. He's been with Butch Jones. He's been with good people. So it was the whole package. I knew that we were getting a really great person who was a really good football coach, but also cared deeply about the players.
I know you're a good friend with his dad. Can you just talk about your relationship with his family as well?
Well, Larry and Mom, I mean, he's a Marine. My dad's a Marine, so there's that instant connection. They're a loving family from Hawaii. Dalton went to Punahou High School, so they're a long ways from home, and yet they fly out here. They come to the games, and that's just, it's amazing. And his dad is, just like Dalton. He's a great family man. He's a great person. He's trustworthy. He's always got a smile on his face, and yet he's got an intensity to him that, I love to see. So I think that we're very lucky, and I know our players are very lucky to be around a man like that. Not just a coach like that, but a man like that, because he's teaching these guys, what it means to be a man and a good father and a good husband and a good person, not just a good football player.
The loss of Cam and Keelan obviously left a kind of a big gap there to be filled. And how do you like how those other receivers have responded?
I think guys are starting to find their way into their roles. And you're going to see more of some guys like Ethan Williams, and you're going to start to see Kylie Hicks a little bit and Darius Bush a little bit. Saturday, we talked about this already, but the way that Nigel stepped up and played, 32 plays. Really, he didn't play against Utah State, and he's been nursing a hamstring, and he went out and played 32 plays. And I don't believe he had a catch, but he did some really good things in the run game. So to see Jacob Flynn make a nice play. Guys, they're competitors. They're competitors. And I've mentioned this before. I don't think any of them, and I know I don't like that word, step up. Because, man, they're already ready to go. Fill in maybe for a minute or assume a larger role. But I think it's kind of an insult if I ever say it, hey, you got to step up. Man, it's just like, it's kind of like the rivalry thing, You should always be trying to reach your maximum.
What do you like about Devontae other than his sheer speed?
His personality. We love him. This kid is like, his sheer speed. Let me go before personality, because we'll talk football first. I love his toughness. That's a tough dude now. Because he's a wiry thin, and he will take a hit, and he pops up, and he never complains, and he's always smiling. And then we love his personality. The guy is just he doesn't say a lot, but I don't know that I've ever seen him not upbeat and happy. Now, on game day, during the game, I mean, it's a little bit different, but he's still got that energy about him. And, you know, when you've got that energy about you, it's infectious. You know, it rubs off on other people. And I think if you ask any of his teammates, they would say that he's an inspiring player to them, you know, and they feed off his energy.
Jim, the rivalry thing you just went back to briefly, I completely understand that, how it doesn't matter in terms of preparation, motivation for you and your guys. Is there value, though, in the fact that the state is probably a little more excited for this game? That's a recognizable logo, recognizable colors, a lot of history, a lot of sports between these two programs. Maybe you bring some more fans out, draw some more eyeballs.
Yeah, I think it's important that I always discern between like how I feel internally and how our fans feel, because it's always important to acknowledge how they feel, right, and what it means to them. Because we're not just playing for ourselves. We're playing for our students. We're playing for our administration. We're playing for our alumni. We're playing for the people of this state. So, yeah, I recognize the importance of it. And, you know, we want to go out there on Saturday and do all we can to win this dang game and make our fans proud and give them some bragging rights. Internally, that cannot be our motivation, but absolutely recognize that. And I think the longer I'm here, which I hope is a long time, and the more I'm involved with games in the Northeast, you know, it'll become more apparent to me what it means. Like, I'll give you an example. My first game against USC at UCLA, USC had beaten UCLA 9 years in a row. I don't know. We were just playing Southern Cal. You know, that's who we were playing. We were playing Southern Cal, and it didn't necessarily matter to me who they were or what the record was. And you can ask Dalton this. When we beat them, it was like, I mean, it was insanity. You know, it was absolute insanity amongst our fan base and our students and really our team. And I kind of got it a little bit. Like, okay, I see what it means to others, but I'm not going to let it affect me that way because I need to be steady and our team needs to be steady.
Coach, you've talked about, you know, calling the defense with consultation from several other voices. How has that progressed? Has it gotten easier as you know, you've gotten games under your belt and everybody's kind of gotten more comfortable with you know, consulting?
It has. So, you know, the way it works during the week is, you know, we game plan together, obviously. So we spend hours and hours and hours locked in that room together and, you know, talking about the game plan and what is good against what and when we want to make calls in certain situations. So we all, I think, step on the field really on the same page. But in any game, there's adjustments that have to be made. Things happen. You know, things don't work out exactly like you had practiced them or something, you know, they're giving you a different look. And with Dalton and Syracuse and Kenny in particular, those three, plus help from, you know, Mike Ryan and the other guys, you know, Luke and Joe and Cole and LB, like there's just constant chatter and constant input. And after every series, it's like, you know, what do you guys like? What do you like? What do you think we need to do? And they have input. And then I can say, well, get it to the players. And then before we go on the field, you're able to tell the players, hey, this is what we're thinking right here. You know, and then during a series, I'm always telling them, tell me what you like. Tell me what you like. You know, it's not just me making a call. It's us making a call. And so it's been really good so far. They are, as I've said before, they are outstanding football coaches. Outstanding football coaches, regardless of their age.
Does it make it any easier, the experience that you have on defense with Jackson Mitchell and Swenson?
Oh, goodness sakes, yeah. It's when you got a Jackson and an Ian, and you got a Eric Watts, and you know you got a Dow, you know, guys that have played, and Durante and Malik. We talked about this last week, kind of up the middle, but specifically Ian and Jackson. Yeah, it's nice, you know. And I look back. I don't like to look back too often, but you have to. You look back to the Utah State game when they kind of put that drive together in the second half, in the second quarter, when Ian was on the bench. You realize in moments like that how important, you know, guys that have experience, that are so smart and such good players and have a grasp of your scheme are.
Talk about this Syracuse defense a little bit. I mean, they were 19th in the country last year. They held a good Louisville team to 300-some yards.
Yeah.
The other day. What's impressive about them?
Well, their physicality and their athleticism. They're big and they're fast and they get there in a hurry and they make plays. You know, they attack. They come after you. And as I said earlier, you know, the two corners are are good cover guys. You know, they can play some man. When you can lock guys up on the outside as a coordinator, it gives you a lot of flexibility to do things inside and be aggressive up front because you can take some chances because they can lock guys down. So I also think they've got a lot of confidence in their scheme. And when you have success like they've had on defense and you've got some guys returning, that's just something you can build on. And it gives you confidence when you know what you're doing and you've done it before and it's been successful and you got some lockdown corners. So big, fast, physical, confident, play hard. Man, that's the recipe for a good defense.
You talked about Cale earlier. He took a pretty big hit in practice today, but
yeah.
Right back up. Do you like his toughness that he brings to the table as well at that position?
I do. Yeah, I didn't like him taking that hit, but Cale is, he's a tough kid. You know, I mean, he's not afraid to run it up in there. He's not afraid to challenge people. He's not afraid to take a hit and jump back up. You know, I think our team is really starting to respect, you know, him as a person, and he's a great teammate. And it was Eric that hit him. We don't like to hit our quarterbacks, obviously, but Eric, I think he was like, you know, the bull that saw red. You know, Cale had the red on. He's just like, I'm gonna go get him. And after, you know, Cale broke the team down, he brought Eric in, gave him a big hug, like, hey, man, we're good. And that's kind of his personality. Really, it's not just his personality, it's the personality of this team.
How did you know him at age 6? Was it through Hugh?
Yeah. So, I mean, I've known Cale since the day he was born. You know, I mean, his dad was my roommate in college. So, you know, he's still one of my best friends. Well, yeah, he's one of my, he spoke at my wedding. So, but yeah, I mean, I've known Cale since the day he was born, and Clay, his brother who plays at Colorado State and had a kind of a tough one against Michigan, but it's a good family.
Is the starting QB and the QB who takes the most snaps something you evaluate week to week? Like, are you kind of committed to Zion long term at this point?
We're committed to Zion. Yeah, the way that I've always felt the best way to do it is to commit to a guy and put all your eggs in that basket and support him like crazy and make sure he understands that he doesn't have to look over his shoulder. He just has to go out and play and yet always have, you know, other guys ready to go because we see how fast, you know, things can change. But the last thing I ever want is a starting quarterback who's looking over his shoulder. You know, Zion needs support, man. He needs to know that we understand there may be a mistake or two, you know, and we're not going to just yank him. He's going to, hey, go play, man. We got confidence in you. You're the starter for a reason, you know, and I've told him that. And I told him that before the game, you know, just go play. Just go be you. Don't worry about nothing. We got you.